Hello, folks, and welcome. Welcome to the Grim Syndicate Community Update. It has been a hot minute. A lot has gone on. We've actually got probably more topics than we normally do, so I won't spend too much time on the pleasantries here, except to say, who am I kidding? I am going to spend time on the pleasantries because I love you all, and this has been a really cool ride, and the people in this community are freaking awesome. So yeah, I'm not going to not be me. Thank you for being here. Thanks for being a part. If you're new and this week you just joined, an amazing community of wonderful humans that are honestly some of the most conversant about all kinds of wonderful things, but also like just generally want to be a part of community, doing some really cool things. And we'll get to it a little bit later in today's, but I had some great ideas for the community. So what a time. Pull up a chair, start the fire, grab a drink, and let's do this community update. I won't be drinking throughout the whole thing because you probably don't want to hear the liquid as it kind of like fizzes in my mouth and then goes down my throat. It's just not what you want consistently. Okay, here we go. Let's talk about art. Art this week is a big week, big milestone because art is done. That's it. That's it, folks. We are done with the artwork-ish. Obviously, as we continue working on the script and we're kind of putting these together to test, probably going to be some things that I'm going to want to change, and so things will change. So for example, we've been working on those ancients, and really there were some items that I really want to try out in this new category where there was these held inventory items that essentially hands would hold, which you didn't have before. And I was like, you know what? I really want to do it. I'm just going to do it. And so I started adding. Now we have held inventory items, which is super cool. It's a new category. Lots of cool stuff happening over there. So I'm mostly done, but more stuff will probably happen this week. There's going to be some additions. These numbers aren't final, but they at least feel somewhat final-ish, which is super, super great. Let's talk a little bit about the numbers, right? Let's get a little mathematical. And I do want to point out in this moment that this is about quality over quantity. We very much care about the work that we create and the art that we do. And we don't see this as like, we just want to have the most art. That's not the win. That's not the play. But I will say that quality can matter. Well, quality does matter and quantity can matter, particularly when we've put so much effort into making sure that it is the highest quality that we can have. And I'm really proud of the work. I'm really proud of our output on this one. I'm really excited about the world we're building, all the implications therein. So, who's counting though? At the end of the day, who's counting? I get it. It's not about the number. I am very much counting. I had to draw every single one of these things. So yes, I am going to count. All right, so let's count then. Unique item roundup. So we've got 74 pieces of headwear. Sometimes that is like a head style that's a little different, but for the most part, these are like items that our Grims are wearing. We've got 48 base skins. That means the materials that your Grim is made out of, there's 48 different materials possible without any of the items taken into consideration. There are 42 eyes/eyewear options available for your Grims. There are 41 outfits and clothing items. There are 24 equipped items today. There'll probably be a little bit more, as I said. These are 12 unique mouths and 10 unique noses. Now, I want to point out the word unique here. When I say unique, this is not an item with a color change. It's like I didn't draw a shirt once and I was like, great, that's it. Let's now do a red, an orange, a yellow, a green, whatever. That was not how we did art. These are unique hand-drawn items that may have color change, but that's not being counted in this roundup. So that's why we have these numbers here. Out of unique hand-drawn items in the set, we have 251 unique items that have been drawn for this project, with color applied to them and the color variance. And sometimes it's color, sometimes it is like an actual texture, so there is a little even different. We're talking currently there are 406 total trait pool items available, which is a ton of potential combinations. It's really exciting. We're really, really excited about that. But the coolest part is it wasn't even just us. It was the community that really gave us ideas, talked to us about what they wanted to see, and really challenged our thinking on some of the stuff we already had, gave us some valuable feedback and input. So honestly, I took some stock photography from people clapping. And so yes, our hats off to you. Thank you so much. I know you can hear it in your head. That's what it sounds like. It's awesome. We want to thank you all for being a part of that ideas and feedback channel. Just some incredible ideas that were able to make their way over there. And if you tuned in this week, we did 3 Twitch streams, which is when I'll hop onto Twitch and you'll see me draw for a couple hours and we entertain a lot of great conversations. But you got to see the project being made live. And if you haven't watched the Twitch streams yet, they are wonderful, not because of me, because of the conversations that we're able to have, the questions that people are asking. And if you are looking to get into art or illustration or digital art, this could be something that's really helpful for you. We tried to take it more at the beginner level in terms of explanation. Doesn't mean everything is like, going to work in your mind immediately. But I will say it's all foundational things. There's nothing we're doing that's too wild in these streams. So if you're curious about how to create some of the art, go ahead and check out my Twitch stream where we've done some of those. And I know if you go to the Process channel, we posted some stuff over there. So again, thank you so much to the community who really has done so much in selecting and really art directing a lot of this project. The roadmap. This has been a big piece of the conversation that we've been having. And in fact, even this morning, we had a really, really great conversation about it. And just to kind of sum up what it is, we have been really hesitant at Grim Syndicate to tell you what the roadmap is, because for us, we did want to understand a little bit more about what does launch look like. The last thing we ever want to do is overpromise and underdeliver. And it felt really easy to go in and throw some ideas on a roadmap and then basically present them and be like, yeah, we're going to do all this. You're going to get everything you see here. And so it felt a little disingenuous in my mind to just throw out all these ideas and expect every one of you to know, like, yeah, I really want to do these things, and these are the things that I'm thinking about, but I just felt like if we don't have the proof that we're actively working on them, we don't have these things that are like showing this is actually what we're going to do with the timeline, it didn't really feel like the right thing for me to do. But we got into a lot of great feedback from and really good discussions have happened a couple times yesterday, this morning in the Discord, with some folks that were saying essentially, as of right now, not having anything in the form of a roadmap feels a lot like we're just going to buy a piece of art, which isn't a bad thing. There are projects absolutely that are launching and you just buy a piece of art and that's what you have. But for them, it was almost like it would be more helpful to understand the way you're structuring your price, the way you're thinking about launching this project. Is there any future utility? What do you see going on here? And so it's actually forced us to really rethink our stance on the roadmap in terms of not giving anything out. And really think a little bit harder of just like, listen, we've run this project with transparency at the heart of everything. Why couldn't we say, here are the things that we would love to do? And if we're given the chance and the option, I believe we have the ability to do these things. Obviously, some new people we brought on board to do some of these ideas. But why not at least release that so you understand what the long-term vision looks like? So you understand that this isn't just a PFP project where we're just going to pass you out some and then we're done. And we kind of dust our hands off and we walk away. We want you to understand how we're thinking about this project, how we're thinking about the future, the ideas that we're keen to explore, the ones that we know we're equipped to be able to do, and the ones that are going to take some bigger leaps that we're really, really excited about. So we have been working really hard, putting these thoughts down, our shared concepts of where we want to go for a roadmap V1. We spent a lot of time doing it the past few days because it felt like a really good thing to have before launch. I am pleased to say that as of right now, it is done. We are just working out some of the language, making sure things are clear, making sure there's a common understanding of what it is. Of course, knowing that we're going to have questions, and also knowing that at the end of the day, we welcome your feedback to these things. We want to hear, how does this sound for you? Are these things you're excited about? And of course, as the community evolves, as minting day happens, as people are now holding Grims, these people are going to be active in our community. They're going to advocate for the things that we're going to build. They're going to give feedback on the direction of where things are going. And so we absolutely want to make sure that we do this in a right way, that we do it in a way that we're not just kind of blowing smoke out there trying to say, yeah, we could do all these things. This is our earnest attempt to really sum up where our head's been and some of the things that we'd like to see done here, and what future iterations and the next steps of this project look like. So that's why we put it together. I hope that this is going to be helpful as you read it. And once again, please know there is no conversation that's off the table here. Please feel free to come, voice opinions. Let's get into conversation. I know there's that term FUD that you all hear, and maybe it's bad luck to say that phrase. And I will say this, on the note of community and hard conversations, I think that there is a degree to which that term FUD has stood in for anybody dissenting with what leadership believes. And that is what it looks like when it's being abused. And I've seen it in Discords where launches have kind of gone sideways, and you immediately see the mods or the leaders like, any FUD and you're going to be banned from this Discord server. I want to really reiterate that we are a team that are building out in the open. We've tried to be transparent. You know who I am. We're not a faceless entity that's releasing NFTs. And so I welcome these conversations. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to talk about these things. And so please feel free to know that you can do it publicly in any of the channels we have. You could do it privately if you want to send me a DM and talk about something that's on your mind. Please know that I'm open for these things. And yeah, that's just a little bit about that. But anyhow, roadmap is going to be on the way. With that, we fully understand that that roadmap does need to be supplied with accountability and transparency for what it is that we're trying to build, because we do believe these things matter. There's integrity to consider. I want to make sure that if we're going to say we're working on something, if something changes, if the later stages of the roadmap do change, I want to be very clear about why they're going to change. What's the new opportunity? What are we going to do with this instead? And what does that mean for the change in the community of how we're organizing these things? So just want to make sure that we do highlight some of these things and the intention behind releasing this tomorrow morning, which you will be able to see. Number 3, this is about minting, the process that we had talked about. Now, I know we had a couple conversations about some options. And if you haven't caught up on this conversation, I'm going to give you kind of a really quick one. And if you already have, you could probably skip forward a little bit. But essentially, what we're running into is we have seen some cool things happen on the Ether system, where essentially you're able to just kind of get this whitelist and then it's done. And you have all the allocations that are already granted here. Now, there are some complications that happen on the Solana blockchain, which has changed the way that we've had to think about what it looks like to be able to do this. This process, as of right now, we are utilizing Candy Machine to do it, is a very manual process if we want to do that. Now, we have heard a lot of feedback from the community about if there's not a whitelist, there's a large concern about getting a Grim, because we've all been a part of those projects. Pretty much everybody has, unless it's your first one you've ever been on, which welcome. There's a negative experience that can happen in the NFT world. And that negative experience happens typically on a launch day when a project launches and there are so many people that want to get that project. And I say people with an asterisk, maybe bots too, that want to get that NFT, that you are unable to claim one. No matter how many times you're ready and you're poised and you're on that mini screen, and the difference of like 5 to 10 seconds can mean not getting one for these projects to sell out really quickly. That absolutely can happen. So we've wanted to think a lot about how to do this to create a fair way to do some of these things. We are absolutely not done with the conversation, but one of the things that we had talked about were those Grim tokens, which is instead of just, instead of the whitelist, which you can't offer, we can essentially create a token that you would purchase Solana, and then you would transact or transfer your Solana to a Grim token. We would send you a Grim token back, and then you would take that Grim token and you would put it into the Candy Machine, turn the knob that would essentially mint you your NFT and be given that back. Now, there are some pluses there. Some of the pluses are it's nice to know how allocation looks and to be able to assign some of those things. But there absolutely are some downsides there, particularly if you've never used Solana before. It can feel a little weird. You're unsure. What is a Grim token? What's the value of this? Is this skeezy? Like, are they just going to take my money? There's also the idea that, currently the Candy Machine doesn't accept both. Like, if it did, that would be awesome. If we could just say, here's Grim tokens, and it also accepts Solana. So that's really nice. That's not an option right now. And so at this time, because of the confusion, the extra steps, but also just I just think outside this community, it's going to be really hard to balance some of that. We won't be using Grim tokens on this specific mint. However, what we are going to do is we are going to do a community head start. And what that means is we are going to, we've nailed down a time, which is, we're launching October 1st. And I'll let you know now, it's October 1st around 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, around there. But we're going to give the community the head start first to say you can start minting at this time. Now, before that happens, we are going to do close to that time. We're going to shut down the Discord in terms of accepting new people. You're not going to have a bunch of new people. And then, of course, when you get the link, it's probably in your best interest not to just share it everywhere so everybody's doing it immediately. But we're hoping that this is going to help. The other thing I think that is a little different from us and some of the other Discords that we've seen, a lot of Discords are using very specific tactics to be able to get people in their channels. Totally get that. We don't always agree with some of those tactics that feel a little invasive to people. But what that can also do is it can also get you a lot of unsavory bots in a specific Discord that can just buy up a whole bunch of stuff. And if it's not bots, it can get you kind of people that want to do the same thing and want to press the luck and change the limits and do all kinds of stuff. And so there are a lot of technical things that have happened for some of these, but the Discords that I've seen that have really lost everything and or sold everything in 10 seconds, I do feel like I've seen a lot of inflated numbers, a lot of questionable characters as in bots probably in their Discords. It's hard to say everybody's going to get, something when there's 30,000 people in a chat and you're only minting 10,000. I think because we've been really strong about how we've wanted to grow this thing, it's been organic. We have very involved people, very community focused. Right now we're at 1650 or something like that. So I'm not as worried as I would be if we really were bursting from the seams. And I think that there is some good effect that could go on there. Now we'll talk a little bit later, but whether or not those numbers are totally good at this point. But I will say, I do think that this is really going to be helpful. There's also this really weird Sonic. So we are absolutely going to do that. We're going to work. Of course, we'll accept your feedback to hear, are there any other ideas that you have or that you'd like to see for launch day? But please know the conversation stays open. We will make sure we can communicate with you ahead of time so that if you need to set an alarm, you can set an alarm. You know when to get it. All right? Cool. All right. Next up, community wallet. Now, we talked about this, about 20% going over to a community wallet of what we make. And the community is really going to decide on a lot of these things. So I guess it was the beginning of this week, we did a community wallet ideas thread where essentially we were asking people to seed some ideas for what they'd like to see happen with that community wallet. Now, we took the top 5, but there was a tie, so it ended up being the top 6 ideas. And this is what they are right now. We've got one, which is a percentage for funding. What are you working on community projects? A percentage for donation and 50% for staking. The next one is the Grim NFT gallery art collection from projects of the community's choosing and community grants to the Grimverse. The third idea is investing for the long term with a 5-year DeFi portfolio strategy. Essentially, let's work on making smart financial decisions to increase the size of the wallet that we have so that we can use it to do more in the future rather than just burst of smaller things. Donate to charity and get some physical Grims merchandise. So that's essentially, let's donate to charity and let's, also make sure we use some money for some internal projects like merchandise or some physical things. Fifth idea was buy back and burn, buy the floor to sustain prices to increase that. And then the sixth idea was create a token. The NFT can earn Grim for Grim tokens for holding it. So these 6 ideas right now are currently in, I believe it's the community wallets channel. And you can go there and vote with an emoji and let us know which one you'd be interested in. Now, that's not to say that the winning one is exactly what we're going to do. There's a lot we want to figure out about how does all this work? We are actively in conversations with financial professionals, lawyers, all these kinds of things, just to make sure all of the ideas can be vetted. How would we do this? One of the things I will say you'll see in the NFT community, if you stick around and check out other things, is there's a lot of talk about, we're going to take the money and we're going to give it out to everybody. Everybody's going to be a shareholder and dividends. There's still a lot of unknown about exactly, because all this is emerging, financially, when it comes time to pay the tax person, what does this really look like? What if this is legal? How much of this is taxable? So we are absolutely thinking about all of this stuff to make sure whatever ideas we have, they can feel really solid. We can know this is something we can sustain over the long term, not just for we'll do this for the first 6 months and then let's just hope nobody thinks about it again. We really want to make sure all these ideas are fairly done and that we have a real path forward to sustain it. Okay. Cool thing about the community wallet ideas is the idea with the most votes, not necessarily the one that we're going to do, but the one with the most votes is going to get a Grim. And that's just exciting. That's just cool. I love that we're doing a little bit more of that. Speaking of giveaways, chapter 5, it is time. It's time to do some giveaways. We're here. We got a launch plan. We're ready to go. So we've set aside some Grims to be able to do giveaways internally with the community as well as some externally. And we want to make sure that we can involve you also. If you haven't seen, there's one going on that just launched a little bit ago. There's 3 Grims up for grabs in the giveaway channel. All you have to do, go into the giveaway channel, interact with the little emoji that Detrick is asking for on the post. I think you can do any emoji, and you will be entered in a raffle to be able to win one of those 3 Grims. Very, very exciting. We're super stoked about that. I will say this is launch week, which means there's even more giveaways on the way this week. We're going to think through some ways that we can continue to give some Grims away to the community. So be there, have fun, don't overdo it for yourself. Know your boundaries, that's cool too. But we love to see you all, and we have amazing conversations, so have a good time this week. It's going to be a really, really good week, and the reason why is because, we're coming up on launch week. Speaking of launch week, exciting things. We're thinking about collaborations, how we want to do them. If you saw today, we did a collaboration with the wonderful team at Solus. They are very much a team that echoes a lot of the values that we hold dear about how to grow, about how to think about the community, about what it means to be in the space and make sure you're providing that long-term value. So they made this awesome one for us, which is just stinking awesome. And it's just super fun. I personally love it too, because as somebody with American traditional tattoos, I love seeing it. It's just super, super cool. And then in return, we did one for them. So I drew one of theirs in my style, which was just super fun to be able to do a little like Grim World version of it. So yeah, we are absolutely on the lookout for more partners that we align with. Again, that's kind of the ask that we have, is like, we don't just want to do it for anybody. We want to make sure it's a community that we align kind of with what they're about, with a leadership team that we feel really confident to say, yes, this is an actual vouch for the team and what they're building. So if you have some that that are in the soul space that you'd like us to check out, or you have a connection over there and you think it'd be good for us to have a conversation, please feel free to reach out. You can do it for myself or Detrick has been handling a lot of this, so feel free to do that. Particularly art collabs. They're just fun. I totally love to draw other people's stuff in our style. Anyhow, good times. If you have not noticed, with the energy that's going on, with the excitement, with all the chatter and the buzz and the glitz and the glamour and just the general raw power around everything going on, it is launch week. It is launch week, which means today's Saturday night, but next Friday night, many of you will be holding your Grim in your beautiful digital fingers, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing. That is right. This coming Friday, October 1st, around 7 p.m.-ish Eastern Standard. And we said ish because, again, we want to make sure there is the community head start that's tied to it, where essentially they're going to be able to, you will be able to get in. You will be able to do some of these things before we release that to the public. But it is this Friday, so make plans accordingly. I have decided that I'm not going to go out either. So you could totally go out, though. You can do this. But we are really excited. It's a really, really exciting week. And we want this to go smoothly. And we want this to be a really fun minting experience. I will say this. I can't say everything, but I will say that we've been in a very active conversation about what it means to create a minting experience that's different from what other people have seen, that has a little bit of our flair and our narrative and our thinking about design. I think it's going to be really cool. I think it's going to be a really fun experience. Obviously, we are looking to you to help us get the word out here about this project. And I understand that, when I say that, please know that I mean that in a way that feels safe, comfortable, and non-skeezy to you. But I also say that fully knowing, and this comes from a community conversation we had this week, that it can be a little bit weird to figure out what's the right balance of how many people do you want here? And then when do you start losing that safety in the community where it's okay, now there's so many people. I don't know if I can really be that active here. And that's a really tough balance. And that's something that we think a lot about as well. Because at the end of the day, it is really nice to have these pockets of people that you get to know and you start to understand who they are. And when more and more people come in, it can start feeling really daunting and really de-energizing for a lot of us. And we kind of pull back. We aren't as active, and that's okay. You have got to figure out what works for you. But I do want to make sure that we highlight the fact that we've talked about visibility does matter in this project. Because yes, there's a successful side of let's get this project successful. Let's make sure that when we release, we're able to do it in a way that builds a lot of excitement, that makes sure that when you buy something here, you're excited about holding on to it, not just for the art value. I hope there's something more that's in there as well, whether it is the future roadmap, whether it is saying like, ooh, this is like a really good one to have in this ecosystem. I really want that to be the case. But the other thing that I want to say is like, it's important for visibility, because I think that assumption that it's like, hey, I think we're pretty full right now. I don't think we should grow anymore. It just feels like we're going to be bursting from the seams. I do want you to remember that there are probably other people out there that have had experiences in some of these communities, have walked away feeling like this is not for me. Like this space is not it. I don't feel safe here. I don't like the feeling of these places. And I mean, I think many of us have experienced it. How many Discords have you been into and you're like, you like the art, you like the project, and you're like, I kind of want to do that. And then you get in and it's like, whoa, no, this is not my people. We are not everybody's people. Justin Mezzell is not everybody's people. The Grim Syndicate is not going to be everybody's flavor. Totally understand that. Not everybody wants to spend what has it been 20, almost 26 minutes with, what does somebody call me this week on stream? The like NFT Bob Ross. Fully understand that. I'm not asking for anybody. And if only I was, I mean, let's be honest, I'm not. But I will say this, like, I think there's going to be a way to grow this community in a way where, yes, it may be harder to post in a general channel when there's a ton of people in it. But what happens when smaller communities break out then? Smaller, more organic rooms start to develop from there. You have more people that are connecting in really fantastic ways. You have a platform to be able to showcase what it is you're working on, get the word out. You have people you can learn from that will help educate you. You have people you can mentor remotely. Like, all of these things are the signs of a healthy and thriving community. And if we don't get visibility in this space, which is a very noisy space, it's a very busy space, and that doesn't mean we need to be number one for everything either. But if we don't get that that's somebody that could have used a space like this to transform the way that they have thought about the industry, their work, their like all of these things, these are communities, these are people, then I think that like that would be a real bummer to not have that. I am who I am in the work that I'm able to do because of the people that I reached out to, because of honestly online communities too. And that shouldn't be the only one that we're going to have. But I will say that, like, I think there is something really powerful about getting people together who cheer you on and are here for what you're doing. And I would hope that we do grow. I really would. I think that that is a sign of amazing things to come. And I think that it only furthers that it's like, yes, this is a place to invest. This is a place to be. And I think that we can find more people that are like-minded and approach it in the same way. I really think that that can be possible. Okay, this has been a very long update. There was a lot to go over. I totally understand that. Thank you so much for sticking around. This is really demony with the red screen on my face with the purple inside, but I do love it. It's a great color palette. Thanks for being here, y'all. Again, from the bottom of my heart, thanks for letting us do this, to build this project, to do it with you all, to do it in public, where we mess things up, where we don't do it all right, but we get incredible feedback from all of you, and we're just so happy to go on the journey. Thanks, y'all. I'll let you get your night back if you're watching it now. See ya.